Most people don't know about the Grand Canyon's greatest and darkest conspiracy. They hide that conspiracy in plain sight. It's rife with Egyptian artifacts and geology. Where is the evidence for such outlandish claims, you may ask? The national park took a page out of Egyptian mythology when they named the formations. After a short little hike from the North Rim, you can catch a glimpse of Juno Temple, Jupiter Temple, Apollo Temple, and Osiris's Temple. Would I find evidence myself of such outrageous claims? The true story of a civilization now lost. The artifacts that they found at the Grand Canyon had an Egyptian origin. They found shrines, they found mummies, they found gold, they found temples. This information has been suppressed by the Smithsonian. What exactly are they hiding? It doesn't stop there either. 1920s, when the Grand Canyon was going to go from a monument to a national park, President Harding went on a voyage of understanding trip to try and understand what exactly was going on at these national parks. He couldn't quite understand. It was on this very trip that he died. His illness was treated with arsenic. Was he treated or poisoned or assassinated for trying to understand what was the Grand Canyon and its Egyptian artifacts? As I was getting to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, I felt like I was getting closer to the bottom of solving this riddle of what the Grand Canyon really was. There must be some Egyptian mythology hidden in the no-fly zones on the map. There are so many places in the Grand Canyon that are banned to the public or you can't even go to. If you veer off course, the authorities will come and get you. And there's even places in the Grand Canyon that's forbidden to drink water from. The forbidden fountain of youth, or to taste the tree of knowledge. It was in the 1920s. The government coincidentally decided they wanted to survey the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon. And coincidentally, on this infamous boating expedition, President Harding passed away, and they named a rapid after him to send a signal they would control the narrative of the Grand Canyon. There are far too many coincidences for the Grand Canyon and what happened in the 1920s when they covered it up. Egyptian artifacts and temples? Could these all just be theories? Just conspiracies? Or maybe the Grand Canyon is just what it is.
The deity has more of a look of Buddha. Never seeing the real one, I don't know, but it says it's holding out both hands with lotus flowers, which is obviously Egyptian. Around the base, there are Egyptian writings.
Of course, we look for areas that are flat, that we feel where they could have raised crops, but you got to remember this is thousands of years ago.
In the satellite, if you look at the ground, you don't see all the trees in that particularly, but there is an obvious color change, which usually means that it was heavily trafficked. It still looks as though it is a whole different color. It's darker. You can actually see rectangles in it where possibly other buildings were. Surrounding that area that is heavily traveled, there are, by satellite, you can see the foundations of other buildings that have been there. When they were there, we don't know, but it's just interesting that all this kind of is in one area, like this was the gathering place.
6 months after, I guess it was, there was a black Suburban across the street parked. Didn't pay much attention to it. I was in my office, I could see it. I could see there was somebody in it, but then they just sat there for about 45 minutes, maybe close to an hour. The windows were all tinted. I couldn't see who was in there. And so I walked over there and got maybe 15 feet away from them. The windows went down, the smoke came out, and then they went back up and they took off. There were no plates on this vehicle.
And there are certain photographs that we looked at that they aren't even on the internet anymore. They used to be on the internet showing parts of Grand Canyon, but right now they've put pictures there. I could pull those in and look at them, the minute details about it, and find things on them. And you can't do that anymore. You can pull it in so far and then they have it blurred.
We have found that now if we see something, if we're able to catch something, that we have to take a picture of it right then. If you go back within 30 minutes, it's gone. Very interesting.
I found kind of a bust that was in the side of the wall that somebody carved in. My husband found kind of a statue that's at the point of a canyon down. Now, these don't look like the statues you see in Egypt.
However, the statue, the base on it, what caught my eye on it was the shape of it. And it's the shape that I'd seen in pictures of different statues in Egypt, and it matched. Yeah, and there's a statue that's been weathered for a lot of years on top of it.
Actually blew the statue up is when we really started finding things. We found on the one shoulder there's the all-seeing eye. In the thigh area there are some buildings that it looks like hieroglyph buildings. To the side of that there is the head, the shape of a head of a pharaoh. We assumed that it was probably painted at one time.
We just call these people or these statues whatever we want.
Right next to him is what looks like the queen, and she has her hat on with a medallion in the front of it, like they used to have snakes there. I don't know if they had any other thing at that time. You can see that her ear's been carved.
What just emerged at the Grand Canyon shocks the whole world. Turns out, the canyon might have been home to ancient Egyptians and even giants, and it was proven only to be covered up. Yup, this one's about to take a turn no one was expecting.
The Grand Canyon is not just an American sightseeing location. There are strange and dark secrets that lie within. Some have even encountered a gateway to a hidden world. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article about an expedition funded by the Smithsonian. This expedition was led by a man named G.E. Kincaid, and he discovered an ancient underground city within the Grand Canyon. But here is where it gets interesting. This city was filled with artifacts from ancient Egypt, hieroglyphs, statues, and even a pyramid. How did ancient Egyptian relics end up in Arizona over 5,000 years ago? Is it possible that they had access to flight? But it gets even stranger. The Smithsonian seized all the artifacts and shut down any further exploration, which led to 90% of the Grand Canyon being restricted till this day.
The Grand Canyon is not just a stunning natural wonder, it's also shrouded in mystery. Some explorers have claimed to find ancient hieroglyphics carved into its walls, suggesting that long-lost civilizations may have thrived in this vast landscape. Adding to the intrigue are numerous UFO sightings reported around the canyon. These incidents have led to speculation about extraterrestrial visits. Are they merely tourists? Or is there a deeper connection? Then there's the theory of the Anunnaki, ancient astronauts believed to have influenced human civilization. Some enthusiasts argue that they may have left their mark right here in the canyon. What do you think? Are these mysteries just myths? Or could there be truth hidden in the depths of the Grand Canyon?
90% of the Grand Canyon is off limits to the general public, which is backed by military services. But why? In 1908, President Teddy Roosevelt decided that he wanted to protect the canyon from timber and mining operations. With this knowledge, a gentleman by the name of G.E. Kincaid, along with the Smithsonian professor by the name of S.A. Johnson, decided that they were going to get a group together to do one final mineral expedition before it closed. What they discovered, however, was completely unexpected. About 40 miles upriver from El Tivar Crystal Canyon, they discovered sediment stains that didn't make sense for Arizona, USA. In addition to that, they also noticed a cavern entrance with steps leading up to it that was clearly a man-made structure. Once inside, they found an intricate underground city that could fit up to 50,000 people. There were ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs on the wall, granaries, tools made of copper. It did make sense. What all of this pointed to was an ancient civilization with advanced technology. In America, in Arizona, with connections to ancient Egypt. After finishing his exploration, G.E. Kincaid, recognizing the massiveness of this discovery, decided that he needed to go back and take an even larger group and bring the Smithsonian along. But they weren't going to allow him to do that. In fact, they offed him. And now, in 2024, the Smithsonian completely denies all accounts of this and calls it a hoax.